Hello, and Fáilte. We have a community question that came in through the Irish Pagan School mailing list about the little people, the fairies. And the question was from Rosalie. So the first part of their question was, what is the most respectful name to call them? So in Ireland, we talk about the she a lot. And the she is actually originally the name for the mounds or the hills or the tumuli that these people or these races kind of access the other world in and out of, basically. And this could have ancestral connections because a lot of those mounds were ancient burial mounds from, previous generations, previous millennia in some cases. So there could definitely be an ancestral connection there. Um, but the she are so much more than that. The she now is basically an overarching term for any other world beings, basically. And some people take that to mean the gods, as in, the Tuatha Dé Danann or other gods and goddesses of Ireland. Some people differentiate. I do personally differentiate between the Tuatha Dé Danann and the she. I think that they're different things. I've made a video on that, so go back and have a look. It's fairly recently. It was down by the river, I believe. And they're, but basically anything from the other world could be classed as she. And the idea of there being a cohesive, like one description of the Irish she, or one one definition of them, is kind of ludicrous. It would be like, to my mind, it would be like looking at our planet, our world, and saying that, this is the type of being who lives there, and like, white middle-aged Irish woman is the type of person who lives on our planet, right? And that's before you even get into like animals or any other entities, that live in the land, sea, or sky of this planet. Within the other world, there is a huge variety and a huge range of beings, and they kind of all come under the catch-all label of the she, because of that other world connection within the Irish tradition. And she, you will see spelt as Sidhe, or in modern Irish it's Si Father. So in modern Irish, generally I tend to defer to the modern Irish spellings of things for my practice. But with the she, I actually go with the Old Irish Sidhe, because in modern Irish, she also means it's pronoun, so it's her as well. So it gets a little bit confusing when you're writing that down, especially if you speak Irish. So just to be very, very clear, and not to be mixing up anybody's pronouns for she or she, Sidhe. So I tend to default to the older Irish spelling, because, that's the tradition as well. So we also have a very strong tradition of being very, very respectful to them. So from that, you will see them referred to as Nadini Maha, the good people. You will see them referred to as the other crowd. You will see them referred to as the good neighbors. You will see them referred to as the shining ones. There are so many. The Aestana is another one, the noble beings. There are so many different ways that the tradition has referred to them. So generally, I think calling them the she is a good idea. There used to be a huge taboo in the Irish tradition, again, of referring to them as fairies or fae. So as an educator, I have to sidestep this, because if I was only referring to them ever as the she, people just, they wouldn't find the content, they wouldn't know what I was talking about. So I have basically gone to my liaison and made a special request to refer to them as the fairies. But generally, for your average person who is referring to them, like I refer to them in an educational capacity, if you like, as the fairies sometimes, for book titles or blog posts or video titles or whatever. Where if I am personally referring to them or talking about them, I'll usually call them the other crowd. But if I'm feeling that there's some kind of step up needed, they will get a more a much more respectful title. Generally, Nadini Maha is what I would go for, the good people. And I don't want anybody to get the idea that referring to them as the good people or the shining ones or the noble people is specifically because they are good or noble or shining. Okay, they can be, absolutely. Like I said, there are all manner and shape and nature and all the rest of it in the other world. Okay, so there are definitely good people there. There are not people, but you know what I mean. There are good ones there. There are, I mean, by our definition, that's another thing, by like our moral compass, by our ethics, by our priorities, we can look at them and see that some are good and some are bad, right? Generally, that's a very self-interested way to look at things because you're saying that they're going to be good or bad to you. And for the most part, the Sidhe don't give a fuck about you or me or any of us. Okay, that's just the way it is. When we do a lot of work to develop relationships with them, that can change. There are definitely examples through Irish history of people who have had good relations with the Sidhe. But being in that sort of right relationship with the Sidhe is a long and difficult road. So for your average person who is not living on the land and is not, doesn't have access to a lot of the stuff that we would have grown up with here, it can be a little bit more of a difficult journey. I'm not saying it can't be done, but it's a lot of fucking hard work. It really is, for no guarantee of return on your investment. Let's be very frank about this, okay? Your time, your effort, your energy, it is quite likely to go largely ignored, okay? If they do take an interest in you, now this has kind of gone off topic, but it's very relevant. If they do take an interest in you, they it's not always to your good, right? So the referring to them as the good people, referring to them as the shining ones, it is almost a plea. Okay, please be good to me. Please be noble. You know, it's an appeal to their better nature. It carries a lot of hope. It is not a description of how we see them in the Irish tradition. So that is how we respectfully refer to the fairies in Ireland, and I think that's what I'm going to call this. I know there was more to the question here, to Rosalie's question, but I'm gonna call it there, and we will maybe come back to this in another video. If you want to see more about the Sidhe and this kind of topics, please comment below, like the video, make sure you share it, you subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. The more interaction I get on videos like this, the more I know what to do and what kind of content you're interested in. So let me know. Okay, slán go fóill, and I will see you in the next video.